In this video, everything you wanted to know about Xvive Phaser King. Where to find it and what it's worth. What's inside of the box? What are the specs? What about Easter eggs? What happens if I science the shit out of it? Does the foot switch make any noise? And what about overall noise level? And finally, what does it sound like, and does it get any close to classic pedals? Well, it's all coming up right now. Hello everyone, today we're looking at Xvive Phaser King, one of the modern fashionable tiny pedals made in China. The official website promises us classic phaser sound, with some mysterious noise reduction, we'll check that of course, and it is supposed to be true by pass. Xvive is using Amazon as their main distribution channel. The price in the United States is a little lower than $60. In the UK it used to be £45 and now it's down to $34. In Europe, however, this pedal is available on Tomon for €55. 日本でも Amazon で買うことができます。今はアメリカより安いですよ。В России педалька тоже неожиданно дешевле, чем в других странах. Overall, I would say it is in a low price range, priced more or less the same as its direct competitor. The pedal is packed into a pretty tiny box, which is just a little bit bigger than the pedal itself. Inside I found a short manual in English which describes all the features, controls and specifications. Other than the foot switch, the pedal has 3 controls. The biggest one is feedback, and 2 others are speed and sweep, which I believe stands for depth. As always, output jack on the left, input jack on the right, and power connector on the back. The pedal takes standard 9 volts with negative center. The sticker on the bottom says designed in the USA and made in China. As for its weight, I was a little bit surprised to find out that this one is a little bit heavier than regular size pedals. That must be because of the enclosure. And the size is really small, it is in fact taller than wider. Now let's open the pedal and take a look inside. One of the first things I saw is that 18-volt label next to the power connector. In fact, when I ordered the pedal on Tomon, it was written that it needs 18-volt power supply. It came as a surprise when I got 9-volt version. Apparently, at some point there was a redesign, and today most of them require 9-volt adapter. You can see how closely all the components are placed, and obviously there's no space left for a battery. One more thing to mention, the central port is actually attached to the enclosure, while 2 others are not. Needless to say, many people see this as a point of weakness. More than that, those 2 ports are not stable. They are shaking as soon as you apply a little bit of pressure. To its defense, I have to say that I was using this pedal for over a year and never had any problems with ports. The pedal uses both traditional and SMD components, but because these 2 boards are really soldered together, I would say there isn't much you can modify here. Now that you know what's inside, don't try this at home. I'm not gonna repeat the Wikipedia section again. If you want to know how a phaser does what it does, you can check it yourself. Let's go straight to the tests. As always, I have the white noise sample which I played through the pedal, and it makes 2 notches in the frequency response, which means we're dealing with a 4-stage phaser. As I play with settings, you can see notches moving up and down. And if I record these, I'll get this sort of diagram for frequency analysis. When I was doing that, sweep control on the pedal was not set to the maximum. Therefore, the amplitude looks a little bit narrow. In reality, of course, it gets wider as you turn up the sweep part. The shape is perfectly triangular on the linear scale rather than logarithmic, which makes it look very similar to the LFO shape of phase 90. I can imagine they should sound pretty close to each other, we'll check that later on. Now I'm about to measure the resistance between input and output. As you can see, it is close to 0, which partially confirms the presence of true bypass. Partially because there still may be components which suck the tone. Many foot switches tend to produce an audible pop sound when pressed. Let's check how this one performs. I've connected the pedal to my pedal board and turned on the delay, so we'll definitely hear any popping sound if it occurs. There's a very loud click the first time you turn it on after connecting the power, but other than that, it's not too bad. Now let's perform my traditional noise test. As always, the phaser is connected to my preamp, all controls are set to maximum, the preamp is connected to the sound card. I have to admit, it doesn't look good. The numbers are telling me that this is in fact the noisiest phaser pedal I've tested so far. My experience with Phaser King tells me it is a bad candidate to run in front of a preamp or distortion. Remember, there was something about noise reduction in the description at the official website. Apparently it doesn't work that well. A cable plugged into the pedal doesn't really change anything. Let's perform the same test face-to-face with classic pedals. Phaser King on channel A, Phase 90 on channel B. Let's compare it to the small stone, which is known as a pretty noisy pedal. Let's begin with both pedals at the quietest settings. Now the small stone is running at its loudest settings, but it's still quieter than Phaser King at its average settings. Let's finally listen to what it sounds like. Phaser King is connected after the preamp, and as you can hear, it takes high input levels just fine. I want to turn up the speed a little bit and play the same part with different feedback settings. Let's turn the speed down. Another crunchy part with different feedback settings. High-speed settings. Let's check it with distortion. Phaser King is obviously too noisy to run it in front of the preamp, but still, let's try that. Let's once again put Phaser King face to face with classic pedals and check if we can make it sound the same or similar. Next one. By the way, the difference in volume is caused by the small stone sucking the tone. Alright, let's put it all together. We've got 4-stage phaser, it has speed, sweep and feedback controls as well as a true bypass switch. It's really small but sort of heavy. It takes standard 9V power, but there's also 18V version. Talking about pros and cons, its price is hard to beat. And the size is awesome. I only know a couple of pedals smaller than this one. The biggest problem is obviously the noise. Although I was using this pedal pretty successfully for more than a year before I switched to another one. One more thing I didn't mention before, the LED seems to be a little bit too bright. Even though I like the color, I always wanted to cover it with something. On some stages I couldn't see other pedals because of it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, consider subscribing, cause there's more coming. I'll be glad to hear back from you in the comments below. That's it for now, I'll see you soon, thanks for watching.